Five, four, three.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Mephisto, and always with me, my hetero life mate, all my feelings. Good evening to you, sir.
Eden, buddy.
The Reel McCoy is a weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie. You watch it, come back to us, and we cover it and break it down and nerd and geek out on it. Today, we are covering The Search for Spock as a part of our Star Trek month. Which All My Feelings is most excited to do.
Only 3 more
last
weeks.
Week he dodged
Only 3
it.
more weeks. Only 3 more weeks.
We'll torture him. We'll torture him. And today, our special guest is Devil Made Me Do It. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Before we go into breaking it down, if you want to interact with me, interact with the show, interact with this whole thing that we're doing right now, DM me on Twitter or follow me on Twitter, whatever you want to do, just get in contact with me at Mephisto there, at Mephisto79 on Instagram. And of course, you can email the show at the Reel McCoy podcast at gmail.com is where you can reach us. Comments, all that good stuff. For our good friend, Devil Made Me Do It, you can follow him on at Now3 on Twitter, and of course, I would send you guys to his YouTube channel, but it barely has anything. But the thing he's doing today, or these, is Beelzehub, where you guys take a lot of stuff and you just rank it for about 7 hours, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Randomly, we just pick a category and make a list, and then I get some people on there to rank all kinds of pop culture stuff, from food to popular movies, TV shows, video games. It's doing well.
So last thing I saw, you ranked characters from Final Fantasy, was it? Or was it?
No, the last one we did. The last one wasn't the burger one. We did burgers, and then last week, from anime, westernized anime. Anime that, like Dragon Ball
Westernized
Z,
anime.
the stuff you see over here. Yeah, we're trying to break anime down to smaller sections. So I'm doing westernized, then I'm doing most popular, then I'm doing ones that maybe just have a female protagonist, and so we're trying to break it all down so it's easier to digest.
All right. All right. All right. I told you this a while back. I fucking love that Nelza Hub. All right. Cool. All my feelings. How many times have you watched this movie this week? Because I tortured you with this movie this week.
I managed to get through it twice yesterday because I finally made it home yesterday. So I've just been scrambling to try to get notes and everything. So
Yeah, don't worry. I've got the notes day. I'm good.
and
But-
it's in so many ways too. This just feels like an extended episode of Star Trek more than anything else because it feels like almost a filler episode in so many ways.
We'll get to that. Devil made me do it.
Yeah.
You told me backstage you've refreshed yourself for this this week, and you
Yep.
told me something else about something.
The original,
To
the first
complete
Star Trek.
memories?
Yeah. I kind of go OCD about movie series. If I watch one, I have to watch them all, which really sucks when it comes to James Bond. Having to go through that many movies in a row. So yeah, it's watching just that one. I was all, oh god, now I need to go back and watch the entire series. So that's gonna be my thing next week, is watching every single Star Trek movie in a row. Yeah.
Good luck. Have fun. No, seriously, I've rewatched them, and the bad ones are not as bad as you remember. They are bad, but not as bad as you remember. I mean, Nemesis is fucking awful, but we're not going to cover it on this show. We're definitely not covering on this show. And I'm saying, of the original crew, of the 6 from the original, 5 is considered the worst, and 1, 3, and 5 are generally considered worse than the 2, 4, 6 is. 5 ain't that bad. As All My Feelings said, kind of feels like a filler episode. This one kind of is too, but not really. But at the end, you can't keep a good series up. You have to have some duds. You have to
Well,
have some.
really,
All right.
in so many ways, there's really almost no ramifications that come out of this. Besides, well, David's death, which we're going to get to, how Kirk's very laissez-faire about his own son's death. We're going to talk about that. But also, it's almost as if they're just going, well, we're going to just undo the end of Wrath of Khan. That's just what we're going to do. We're going to undo Spock's death, and that's it. So if they would have just cut Spock's death out of Wrath of Khan, this movie just couldn't have happened, and everything would have been fine.
That leads us to our first segment of the night. It is called Behind the Screens.
Action take 2.
Behind the Screens is where we get the lowdown on everything that is behind the scenes, behind the screens, everything to do with production side and everything to do with the behind the sets of this movie. Normally, All My Feelings doing this segment, and he has plenty of
No
notes
time.
this week because 4th of July and all that stuff. I'm going to cover this. So if you have any information, just jump in. Devil, you may as well jump in if you have any information about what I'm talking about. If not, enjoy the information. And we'll start with, because Leonard Nimoy was misunderstood to hate Spock, he even wrote a book, I Am Not Spock, but he wrote that before the motion picture. So when he killed off, it was generally received poorly by test audience. So when they finished the movie and up to the test audience, kind of not well. So the Paramount executives and Harv Bennett, who was the main producer and sort of a showrunner, if we were talking about TV, and they've put in 2 extra scenes. One is this where Spock kind of grabs McCoy and puts the mind meld on him with the Remember, which it was filmed and put in of Con, and then you use a sort of a security camera footage in the and the torpedo shot where they fire the torpedo at the Genesis planet, and you see just the torpedo itself just resting there with some mist. Kind of looks like it moved at the very end, but it really didn't. It's just an illusion. Nicholas Meyer, who directed Wrath of Khan, hated those scenes. Really refused to come back, and that kind of benefited Leonard. He got there's a lack of director, so Leonard Nimoy stepped in and did his directorial debut. By the way, most, if not all of the cast were pretty pleased that this happened because they loved working with Nimoy anyway. And as a director, they even loved it. He loved it even more because he kept everybody's spirits up. Him and Kirk were like the morale officers, and they loved going through the shoot. The movie itself was actually greenlit 2 days after Wrath of Khan opened. So it opened not like mega big, made its money on the first couple of, so immediately greenlit.
Because this was all Paramount based at the time too, right?
Yes, everything was.
Yeah,
it still is Paramount. Original title for Search for Spock was actually Return to Genesis. The Romulans were supposed to be the main antagonist, and the main
which I think would work
plot
so much better.
was the Romulans come into Genesis, put up a mining operation, but they kept getting stuck because a feral individual was attacking their miners. And it turns out the feral person was Spock. And but it didn't work for them. It didn't work for Harv Bennett or it didn't work for the Paramount executive. Somewhere in the line, it kind of fell through and it got changed.
I wonder why, because I never really bought Christopher Lloyd as Krug, as I really didn't buy his motivations as a character, as an antagonist.
The thing is, that script was written, but it got leaked that Spock was coming back. So they scrapped that idea. Okay. But there is something with the Romulan that kind of kept through. But we'll get to that soon. So because the leaked script, and because it didn't really sat with the Paramount executives anyway, they developed they did a new script. They changed the villains into the Klingons because of sort of brand recognition. So Nimoy and Bennett changed Klingons, and they also came up all the backstory Klingons was changed from the original series, where the original series they were conquerors. Here the ideal was to have them more of a samurai environment, which it is kind of is today, where they have samurai elements and the whole dying in battle for honor and all that stuff. Sort of all the later on the whole house caste system was developed because of the samurai caste system. But they entered Viking Valhalla of the Klingons. Everything was later on in era.
Yeah.
To emphasize the whole warrior code, Krug killed his lover because they had to keep the secrecy. That was part of that element in the story. When the entire Klingon culture got reworked, they brought in a guy called Mark Okrand, and he developed the entire language. But when the actors had to say the words. Some of them couldn't say the words. Some of them like pronounce it. Mark, who was on set, said, "That's fine. You got the gist of it. So I'll change the grammar to fit what you said." So he actually wrote the
Oh, okay.
dictionary and he wrote it and then rewrote it while there were roots, just because Christopher Lloyd had a hard time with the language, and a lot of prefixes for got like discarded because couldn't say the prefixes to the word.
Okay.
The whole language is off of
How much do you
few
charge for
sentences.
something like that?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, really.
Can you create a language? Yeah. You're gonna pay me
Yeah.
something.
And
Well,
the
that what's
thing
really
is, he
interesting too
worked
about
off
it is it
very-
actually has like tone and diction too, where it actually has like intonations
Yeah.
with the way that the Klingon speech works. So it's like it's almost like in so many ways it's very similar to Mandarin Chinese with the way with how you add inflection in the timbre in your voice and the way you can pronounce consonants in a certain way. It's really interesting the way that he was able to figure that out to create a language, and then also to like, oh yeah, don't worry, I created all of it. You got it wrong. I'm gonna go back and fix it, so now it'll work this way because you said it wrong.
Exactly.
That's a lot of extra work.
And the thing is, like in the motion picture, there are Klingons there at the start, and they're talking incoherently, and those words actually came from James Doohan, who played Scotty. And he just told the actors what to say, as in he just invented it. And Mark Okrand took like letters that he heard in motion picture and just built a thing. And of course, the guidance was that Klingon is very guttural. That's why it's weird and not human. Plus, when he actually built the language, there's a great interview, and he said there are certain types of context. So there's verb, object, and something, and you rearrange according to how different languages use them. So he chose that has that syntax, which is the most uncommon, and made it the Klingon syntax, which is object, verb, subject. That's the order. Where am
So in a way, like it actually, it's kind of the reverse of Japanese in a lot of ways.
Kind of love it like Hebrew, but never mind.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but
It's
also
object.
like, have you ever hung out with a really drunk Scotsman? I know you have, Meth. They kind of do sound like Klingons.
Yeah, kind of.
Well,
Scotsman and Irishman, and I don't mean people like American Scotsman. I mean actual Scotsman from Scotland and actual Ireland from Ireland. After
do you remember that episode of Frasier? Where he's supposed to speak at his son's brisk, I believe. And so the guy who works at the studio says, I'll teach you Hebrew. And if you go to one of the cons and gets a signature from one of the cast of TNG. And so he doesn't go and do it. He says, I just couldn't make it over there. I'm so sorry. He goes, it's okay. And so he teaches him Klingon. And so when he goes up to read from the book, he's speaking Klingon, and he's so embarrassed. But then his son and all his friends love him because he actually went up there and spoke Klingon. So it was a really funny episode.
I think I remember that, which is good because, right, casting.
That'd be a pretty early episode then.
Yeah. I think so. Casting. Leonard Nimoy wanted Edward James Olmos to play. He was he auditioned.
Fit.
Yeah.
He auditioned about 3 times and got rejected because he was short. And Harv Bennett and the executives actually wanted somebody to tower over Kirk. So he had to be tall, at least by a head, taller than Shatner, which is not that tall of a order, but James, like Almus, is very short. After that, Christopher Lloyd and Nimoy didn't think he would do well, but his mind was blown. Like, oh, this guy's got range. However, Christopher Lloyd was a TV actor. He played a comedic taxi at the time, or was about to rap or just rap. I don't remember what exactly they rapped, but it's always a problem for like movie executives to accept a TV actor on like a major role, and he had to literally
especially then because this was 84, right?
It was 84, so production was about 83.
Yeah.
End of 83, start of 84. But Nimoy, like, I want this guy and nobody else, and they had to capitulate. The budget did increase slightly from Wrath of Khan, but not by much, and they used a lot of redressed bridges, redressed halls. For examples, the Enterprise and the Grissom were both the same.
Okay.
A little bit of a moving of the gears here and there, not by much. Not by much. The Klingon bridge was actually taken from another sci-fi project that got canceled for a TV show. And it was just there at Paramount Lot. The sick bay of the Enterprise, the medical bay for the Klingons, but with a different angle. That's about it. Right. Excelsior was supposed to be interested in the Wrath of Khan, and Sulu was supposed to be its captain. But that whole plot line was scrapped at the time. But of course, they gave him the command in the 6th. The Klingon bird of prey was adapted from the Romulan bird of prey from the original series, although they changed how they looked. ILM actually designed it themselves with a little bit of kind of input from Nimoy himself. He came up with the whole when it's down, it's attack mode. When it's up, it's the cruise mode. In order to sort of like, this is menacing, and this is like, no, they're just moving on. The two little bumps at the end, the two coils at the end, are supposed to be like a human, like, trap.
Yeah.
Make it look stronger. Yeah. Which is weird. Works. And the wings themselves, the sort of bird feathers, in order to have that reminder that the bird of prey was originally supposed to be Romulan. The whole design of it came before it was changed to Klingon. So it was fished as design, and then it changed to Klingon. So what they wanted to the script is that the Klingons actually it's a Romulan ship, but the Klingons stole it. That's scrapped. What they did was in novels,
now see that would have worked better.
The Romulan, they explained that the Romulan tech and the Klingon tech is really close. That's why both have cloaking devices. They both kind of they both like green-ish ships. They both kind of stole each other. But again, that's novel, all that stuff.
And don't worry, Jacob. Yes, I agree with you.
Where am I? Fuck. There we go. Welcome, Jacob. So the space dock, also a full-on design. It was 6 feet. In the real model was about 6 feet, but according to like the book of the lore of, it's supposed to be 5 kilometers in height And if it was 5 kilometers in height in real time, you're supposed to see without any telescope from Earth.
Okay.
Oh, and when they did the whole model, they painted it. They put in neon lights inside, and they had to scrape in by hand about 7,000 different windows, which was a lot of
Jeez.
day.
That reminds me
The
of
actual
several other
ships,
big
the
set
actual
pieces
models.
that we've discussed before, where they brought in just random crews
Yes.
to come in and like, yeah, this is going to be a 36-hour project. Go.
What are we doing? You're cutting little windows in
Yes.
this.
I remember
thing
what
with
you're
a
talking.
little X-Acto knife.
At 7,000. The real models that they built were too big to fit in a portion of the space dock, the interior of the space dock, a different model. So they had to do a composite shot. They wanted to fit it in, but it would be a massive construction. And of course, with the tight budget, and Harv Bennett did want a tight budget. I talked about this last week. When he hired Harv Bennett, he said he can make the first one cost like 45 million. He said I can make 6 or I can make 4 movies for 45 million. Really hit that mark, but very close.
Yeah.
So the shot where at the start there where the ends into the space dock was actually reused in several TNG episodes, but what they did is delete the old model and put the new CGI model as they kind of entered in. The Excelsior actually used in the 6th episode, but also in Star Trek Generations, the Enterprise B. So this model they used several times at different ships.
Okay.
Where was I? Savick. Yeah, there's tons of. The part of Savick was recast for Robin Curtis. The reason is super simple. Kirstie Alley was signed in to do Khan because they didn't expect to have the Search for Spock. So the whole character of Savick was supposed to be Spock's protege. So when Spock is not there, there's no kind of need for Savick. Mm-hmm. But because they kind of everything was last minute, they kept the character in. But Kirstie Alley wasn't signed, and when they wanted to re-sign her again, she wanted more money because the budget was tight. They said, "Well, we're just gonna recast you, so fuck off." Right, because of those early leaks with the script, with the whole Genesis planet and the Romulans leaked, security was super tight. Everybody had badges. Even the offices that you were supposed to have, like, oh, we're doing Search for Spock. None of that was in. It just said Star Trek. That's it. No exact like.
Well, to be fair, if they had the title in there, it would have given away the entire premise of the film.
Exactly. In the written scripts that they had certain pages numbered incorrectly for certain people. They had different colors of pages in certain scripts in order to maybe catch the leakers. And Spock's role in the sort of cast list was named Naklov, which is Vulcan backwards, but not actually Spock's name, just Naklov. Mm-hmm. So they did like. Do you remember when Elon Musk did typos in letters that he sent to people for Twitter? That he just moved different letters in different areas. Oh, he did that when he did firings in Tesla and firings in PayPal. So he just sent everybody a letter, like an email, and they changed theirs. So when something was leaked, they knew exactly who leaked it. So they did that for pages of the scripts. However, it still got leaked. They didn't catch the guy who leaked it, and the whole Spock thing was already known to like the people who were deep into like Trek lore and wanted to have any information on this movie, that those people got it. Let's just say if YouTube was like on today, they were like any leakers you've ever done YouTube. Where was I? Oh, at one point there was a massive fire on the Paramount lot on and it was an arson, not just that it burst into a literal arson, and it was very close to the set, the Genesis planet.
So you don't mess with Kirstie Alley, is what you're saying, right?
Exactly. I mean, definitely, maybe. And actually, the cast and crew to help with like extinguishing the flames, and the leader of the crew actually William Shatner. There's literally an interview with him where you see him with like soot and smoke talking to the press how they saved their movie. The stage
it only would have been better if he just overacted at the flames to bore it to death.
That may not happen, but there were still holes in the actual soundstage, so they had to put in stuff to make it dark enough for them to shoot. We talked about this last week, but every single exterior shot with the spaceships, everything was storyboarded, everything was scripted, everything was set before they even went to do the shots at ILM in order to keep all the costs down, so they don't have to do any extra bits, and so they had everything mapped out just so ILM can take the storyboards, like calculate all the stuff that they need to do, and just shit and get it to the studio and to the section as soon as humanly possible. The iconic Enterprise blowing up, they had to do 3 different shots, 3 different models, one for the blowing up, the other one is sort of a styrofoam close-up of the saucer section where they just little acids on top, and on the bottom they use like a burned up iron foil, whatever it is. It kind of looks like it's burned metal, but it just creates a lot of fire without actually being on fire, and some sparks. And for the entire bit, they actually put in another like saucer section styrofoam thing, filled it up with talking powder. When they loaded, they had lots of debris, and that they use as deposit on the model itself. So it's a 2-parter model when they explode the thing. So the original big one, they didn't actually destroy it, and they had to use it upside down. So when it explodes, it actually explodes downwards. Mm-hmm. But when you turn the shot around, it kind of explodes upwards, which wouldn't kind of happen in space. Or it would happen in space, but
and also there
here
wouldn't
on the
be
planet, it would look
space. Yeah, because it
correct.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I know. The thing is, it would explode outwards, but because you're shooting it with gravity, it would explode downwards, which, you know.
Downwards. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. The whole point of it being destroyed is something that I put in the script because of early leaks that Spock is coming back. So that leak they couldn't avoid, but of the fact that it was leaked and sort of reversing that very monumental death from Wrath of Khan, they put in the explosion of the Enterprise to have a meaningful in the movie.
Okay. Yeah.
James Horner, the guy who
fair.
was the composer in Wrath of Khan, came over to do this. He took a few bits and pieces from Wrath of Khan, put it in this kind of score, and he still didn't want to use Jerry Goldsmith's iconic kind of theme of Star Trek. He wanted to keep it as a separate thing to make sure the movies are kind of from the TV series. Budget was 16 million as opposed to 12 million for Wrath of Khan. It didn't do as well. It did only 87 million, where Wrath of Khan did 97 million. It still was a great success. Most of it was domestic. Most like 76 million was domestic, 10 million worldwide. Didn't have a big worldwide release, but still
I was
another.
How long had Star Trek actually gone international at that point, the original series?
Not a lot.
I didn't think it wasn't that big of an international release. Yeah.
I'll tell you what it is.
That's what I thought.
When TNG was established, TNG, it wasn't a network. They actually went to a syndication rather than work model, because they wanted to have control over the story. They didn't want any of the big like networks interfering with their work. So they went to a syndication model, and because it was so successful, it was duplicated around the world. So TNG, throughout the run, did a ton of money. It did a lot of money for Paramount. Just to sell the series in syndicate. Paramount didn't care. It was like some episodes were out of order. They just didn't care. Because
they end up selling it to CBS, right?
At the very end, CBS rejected it originally.
That's what I thought.
I mean, TNG, they rejected it. ABC rejected it. NBC considered it, and NBC was the first network that had TNG on, but it got changed because of the inner workings with Viacom, CBS, Paramount, all that stuff. That came a little bit later. And last thing, Kirk's reaction to David's death was improvised throughout. Nurse said he wanted to fall to his chair, sort of like but he missed it. And Nimoy just said, keep going. And it was just, it was a one take. Oh, shit.
Okay.
It was a one take. And that is basically all the notes that I've got.
All right.
38 minutes later.
that was a long behind. I think that might be the longest behind the screens. I think I did one that was 45 minutes before, but I had a lot to talk about in that film.
I think for Pulp Fiction, you did like a 45-minute. Yeah. I don't care. I don't care because I didn't want to. There were a lot of little details, but I couldn't quite thread everything into the movie when we kind of break everything down. All right. Because we took our time, we'll do our first game and then we'll start breaking down the movie. Devil Made Me Do It. Prepare yourself because it's time for Missing Mark. Missing Marquee is where we take movies, have their text written off, display them, and Devil Made Me Do It. And the chat will have to guess which movie this is. Let me bring in the chat. Here we go. Here you go, buddy. What movie is this?
Alice in Wonderland?
Alice in Wonderland is correct.
Apollo 13?
Apollo 13, correct.
Oh, God, I don't.
Anticipation is
Eyes Wide Shut?
It is not Eyes Wide Shut. No, it is Richard Gere. And it is Winona Ryder, which is very different from Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. This one is
I have no
a
idea.
long one. All my feelings? The chat is
Is this
stumped.
the Days of Wine and Roses?
No. Good guess though.
God, I have no idea
No
which
go?
one this one is. Nope.
Oh
Missing
shit.
it.
There we go. Autumn in New York.
Oh, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Chicken Little.
Chicken Little, correct.
Oh shit.
I'll punch it. We got John Cusack.
Yeah.
We got Sheen.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the name of that? Is it? Was it the
I can hear
Greatest Game
Tom
or
somewhere.
For Love of the Game?
Not for the love of the game. No.
Tom's losing his mind.
Oh.
There's a
what is
different
that
movie,
called?
baseball, dealing with same team of Shoeless Joe Jackson. It's called Field of.
Yep.
There we go. Paul has got
Yeah, I know
it.
Field of Dreams, but
8
that can't be Field
men
of Dreams.
out.
And out.
Oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
Glory, isn't it?
Glory is correct.
Oh man,
This movie's just sad.
Yeah.
I cannot remember the name of it.
It's a country and an
It's a
object,
country and
a building before it.
A building that is for hospitality.
When you go someplace, you stay at a
Hotel.
Hotel.
Hotel Rwanda.
Hotel.
There we go.
Rwanda is correct.
That is Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget is correct. And last one. Steven Spielberg directed.
Oh,
Eric Bana, main lead.
Oh.
What's the name? God, from the Olympics.
From the Olympics
What's
is
it
correct.
What is
It's
the
where the
name,
Olympics
though?
were.
Oh,
It started
I remember
with an
now.
M, right?
Yes.
It started with an M.
It's in Germany.
It's in
Yes,
Germany.
Oh God, I can't remember the name.
Their soccer team starts with a Byron. The name of the place.
Byron. Oh God, I
Well,
can't
soccer,
remember.
so you probably
God.
don't know, Devil.
Yeah, no. Munich.
It
That's
is
right.
Munich, correct. All right, cool.
A really good movie.
You did well, man. You did well.
Oh, it was a good
Don't-
movie, but God, it's been a while.
don't- I didn't like it, but
There's some
I
sleepers in the August in New York. I don't think I've ever seen
I
that
knew
one,
the story.
Yeah.
so.
I knew the story, so I didn't like it. All right, cool. So let's start off with the actual movie itself, which kind of starts with sort of a recap, right? It starts off with a sort of a recap of, remember when he died? And I was like, yes, I know he died. My favorite scene of the entire 6 movies. I know he died.
Yeah. And
But
what's great too is I love the fact how Seinfeld even played off of this and the whole thing about Katra later in the same episode of Seinfeld as the one with Susan's funeral. And because he ends up saying the line from the end of Wrath of Khan at Susan's wake, and then later it was Kramer was talking about his Katra when he was going to karate with everyone who was like 7 or 8 years old.
What wasn't it? It was out of all the souls I've met, his was the most
The
human,
most
right?
human. Yeah, I
Yes.
believe that. Yeah, that was the line.
I
yeah.
love that line. I
Yeah, that's a
love
good
that
line.
line
I
in the
love how
movie.
it's-
I love.
When Jerry and George were
No.
talking about it, they both do that same thing where it's like, as a man, you're okay to take a moment, and like it was this and Brian's song at the time. We were like, yeah, man, yeah.
And Kirk did
Funny-
it so
funny
well.
you should-
Kirk,
Funny you should mention Seinfeld. You know why? Jackie
Yeah.
Childs is
yeah.
very excited to come back to Space Doc.
We'll get a hero's welcome.
That's the whole point here. That's the whole point here. It's like, can we have a hero's welcome? Can we please, Daddy? Can we, Daddy Captain? Can we have it? And it was like, we just lost like a bunch of people. It's not only
Yeah.
but like a lot of people from engineering lost their lives. There's a very sad there's not funeral but a sad death where there's a trainee cousin to Scotty who just died in his arm, and this guy's like, "Bring us medals, sir," and I was like, "No, you bitch, no, stop it, stop."
Well, all I'm saying is too is also, had he said "daddy," it wouldn't be the first time that someone's called Kirk "daddy."
Yeah, I know.
And not the first species that called Kirk "daddy."
And of course, that kind of juxtaposed with the next kind of scene that we have. We have the first decloaking of a Klingon ship ever.
Mhm.
This moment where you kind of see the whole point of they're stealing the data for Genesis. How they got it, I don't know, but it don't explain, and we don't really need to. We don't really need to know.
Well, because it was Valtris who basically gave them the information from the ship. Valtris was Krug's
Kind of.
lover. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have them like then destroying the ship. And of course, the almighty kapla, which was another invented word, but we know it best from Team America World Police.
Kapla!
Kapla! But yeah, they get the information, they destroy the ship with his liver on, and sort of it goes sort of back and forth, and now the crew's coming back, and you can tell the kind of devastation that is going through.
Mhm.
One of the shots here is actually a person that was in. She was, I think, in most of the movies, but not all of them. Was Yeoman Rand. He's literally, there's a shot here where she looks at it
Okay.
and she's horrified because she wants to be on the ship because they left with skeleton crew and like trainees and stuff. And she comes back and she's like horrified, and they see Excelsior, and Scotty is not really thrilled, but Sulu is very thrilled. And they're talking about that they have a transwarp engine. They don't have a transwarp engine. They never had a transwarp engine.
Just as a sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Devil.
Doesn't Scotty like make a
Go ahead,
remark or something about that? Like
Yeah.
yeah, like he makes some snide remark like
Yeah.
they don't, or they don't have a chance or something of it working.
What I find interesting too is there was immediately what I thought was when they showed Spock's, again, his coffin on Genesis, the first thing that came to my mind was, how the hell did that survive? And they actually provided an explanation as to why it survived. I'm like, thank you, film.
Yeah. The whole point is the fact that it just they didn't have the detonation mechanic. They just fired it.
No, it explained how it landed. They explained the soft landing when David and Savick are on the planet and they find it and like, oh, this makes sense because it would have actually landed softly. Like, thank you, because the entire time I'm thinking like, why is this still intact?
Yeah.
And of course, while they're going to space dock, there is a break-in to Spock's laboratory, and when the captain goes in, finds McCoy, and he's erratic. He's talking about, I have to go back there, and if you've 17 million times know exactly what he's talking about, put yourself in the shoes where you don't know what the fuck is going on. We have to go back there. We have to go back to Genesis. It's like Kirk is like, why do we need to go back there? We relax. And there are moments here where you can tell DeForest Kelley, who plays McCoy, is trying to mimic some sort of Spock, but keeps it very reserved. It goes up for just moments, and then it immediately comes back to crazy McCoy.
Until they do like the off the side dub-ins of Nimoy doing the lines, so he sounds like, well, it sounds exactly like Spock because he's supposed to. Those are the only. He has slight intonation changes where, especially when he's during the bar scene, where it's like, well, that's illogical.
Yes, he kind of.
And when he's speaking to the one random alien about getting the ship off planet, yeah.
It kind of gets out a little bit, and then it kind of gets pulled to being McCoy. It's like illogical, and then it comes back. So again, it goes back and forth from the Klingons, and then Grissom back to the crew, and then always going back and forth until they kind of collide. We get to see the scene where they look at the Genesis project and they realize, oh, this is a fucking weapon of mass destruction. Also, it kind of also forms, so we can destroy the Federation and have planets of our own, but the crew wants them to keep it hush hush, like away from the crew. We don't need the crew to talk about this. Keep it within the main guys. And then, of course, we get
until Krug later ends up killing one of his main guys because it's like, it was a lucky shot when he blew up the Grissom.
Yeah, the whole point, the Grissom is there. I'm going to move forward because we're going to stay here all day if we go through this scene by scene. So we get to see the Grissom. We get introduced. They on some sort of a dot, the blip on the map that says, well, this is like life. And it's not supposed to have life. Savick says it's logical to go down there and kind of, because David wants to go down there, and the cap have to go by the book. It's a forbidden planet. We're not supposed to go in there anyways. But Savick says, well, it's logical to investigate, which is something Spock did throughout the scene. And it doesn't quite fit, and it really is not logical to go there. It kind of divulged into, well, our mandate is to investigate new civilization. We have to go. And when, okay. So that's the stuff with Grissom. And then we get Spock's father coming to visit. Now, I thought the guy playing Spock's father was like on the first movie. He was not. He was not in the second. I think he played a Romulan in TOS.
Okay.
And switched him to be his dad. I don't remember what. You guys in the chat can tell me. I'm not as big of a Trekkie as I seem to be.
And what's odd too is like, could they have not made their names just slightly different? Because you have Sarek and Savick.
Yeah. Well, it's John and Jonathan and James. They're all the same. But the whole mind meld looking for. I know he left his Katra behind. He was so sure his son isn't dead, and he's looking through Kirk's mind, and he can't find it. It's like, my son is dead.
Well, and also he didn't.
And from that kind of
Kirk's
like the
story
idea
and
was
their relationship
because
either until he read his mind. Yeah.
The point is, like, it gives Kirk an idea, and he checks. It goes to the tapes, and they both see the fact that Spock put his thing in McCoy, and then it's like it immediately sparks Kirk to fucking bones, right? Let's move forward. Right. So Kirk goes to his superior. He said, I want to take McCoy to look for, to go to Genesis. It says Genesis is barred for everybody. Nobody can get there. We see McCoy basically getting taken from the bar after he's trying to get a show there. And the guys try to fleece him for money and like everything. But suddenly he knows about the Jenning. So it's sort of
that was a big point
knowledge.
where it's like, is it nobody supposed to know about this planet? And the guy's like, no, we can't go there. That's forbidden. It's like, didn't you just create this?
Yeah. A week ago.
They
what
literally
the hell?
just created this. And of course he gets arrested, and Kirk finds out, and he decides, well, if my superiors are too lack of intelligence, I'll just mutiny this thing, and I'll just go. I'll take the Enterprise, take my crew, and I'll just go. And they kind of release McCoy, and it takes him off to, it's like, coming with me. It's like, where are we going? Don't worry about it. We'll go.
Yeah. You love the camaraderie too, how the entire crew is behind it from the get-go, and especially like when they get on the bridge of the Enterprise. I can ask you to go no further, and everyone's like, well, what are we waiting for? Let's go. But the other thing was Sulu and the security guard out there. Don't call me tiny.
Now, I had it on my notes, but I deleted it. Sulu didn't want to do that scene. He didn't want.
Oh, okay.
He didn't want to be called tiny. So he read it. He read the script, and he said, "I really don't want to be called tiny.
Okay,
I mean, the guy isn't that much taller than me. It's like it's a stereotypical Asian is short kind of thing. I really don't want to do that." He said we kind of gone past the whole stereotype thing. And again, with Star Trek, it was always kind of about this thing.
Yeah.
But when Nimoy kind of went through the whole bit with him, it's like, dude, he's calling you that because he's typical.
He's more physically.
You get
he's
the
also
upper
more physically
hand.
imposing than Sulu.
Yeah, you get the upper hand, and you get to talk back to him about, oh, don't call me tiny.
Yeah.
And it sets you up as kind of like a more preferable kind of role for you. And he's like, yeah, it fits, I guess. Plus, we're doing this for a good cause. So I come off as not an evil bastard doing this.
And I don't see it as, it wasn't like racist. He wasn't saying it because he was Asian. He was saying because he was just a taller guy.
He was short.
And
the guy was really tall.
Oh, well, and also he was obviously had more musculature too as well, because that's more of a thing that like a bully would say that to someone who was smaller than them. You know, that's just I guess again, Devil, I'm with you now. I didn't really read into the race argument there about that. It was just more of just like something stereotypical a bigger guy would say to a littler guy, regardless of race or species, as it were, because it is Star Trek.
Exactly.
And, I love Uhura
Michelle
just
Nichols,
talking so much shit to the lieutenant. Oh, it's so
good. The thing about with this is when Nichols got the script and she saw, I've got like a really tiny role, and I'm actually not going with them on this mutiny. I'm staying behind and then I'm going to Vulcan. There's not a lot of screen time for me, regardless if I'm talking or not. But when she actually read the thing and she saw how pivotal the moment is, she was like, "Oh, I get to do this. I'm in."
Yeah.
So like when she saw the interaction, she said she loved that whole bit. By the way, she loved to do that dance Star Trek 5. I don't understand it, but she liked it. If you haven't seen it, it's bad. It's really bad.
Hey,
And in
you
this
like
one,
it,
she was fucking cool, man. She was like easing him in. Suddenly she turns on him and her like expression, suddenly she's very
Turn on
severe.
him, like-
Oh, turn around, go in the closet. Like, what? What the fuck? What?
Hey, I was like,
You heard
well,
me.
you wanted to be a hero, you wanted adventure, right? Well,
Yeah.
guess what?
And then escape, which I love because there's where it's super fucking funny. So there's yellow alert. The captain is laying down and he's like, somebody's stealing the Enterprise, and he's doing his nails and he was like, someone is stealing the Enterprise. So they go out. There's a whole bit with Scotty in the turbo lift. The voice in the turbo lift is actually Leonard Nimoy. And one of the lines that Scott says when he gets out is like, "Up your shaft," right? And that's Harv Bender's favorite line when he's like, "Up your shaft," and he goes. When they start the chase, they kind of leave. There's a moment there where Scotty's not sure if he's able to hack and everybody's like, "Scotty, hello, Scotty." It's like, "Don't rush me." And everything opens. He gets out. The Excelsior kind of goes out behind them, and then the transwarp engine doesn't work. But when it fails, it's like cartoon car freeze, kind of a. And it's like, what?
Yeah, the Foley work in that, it was like, what?
And I love how he gives him he's all, "What happened?" And he like gives him the things like they're like spark plugs. It's like he pulled the plugs or something.
Yeah.
And
He just hands it to him like, this
Yeah.
runs the whole thing. Apparently, it's like, okay.
It's supposed to be a fucking new engines, new class design, but you can fail it with like 4 fucking screws. Like you would
Yeah,
like put out
I was gonna say, Devil, as you said,
nut
like
from your
spark
car would
plugs,
just
or I'm thinking
fail.
of like the old Star Trek toys where they literally just took the AA batteries out of the back of it.
He pulled the batteries and they're all, "Damn, this whole thing doesn't work."
By the way, surprise cast here is Miguel Ferrer, which a year later he was one of the major people from RoboCop.
The
again,
guy who ran it, or whatever.
Yes, he was like the main guy who got later on and it's sort of weird because Kurtwood Smith was the president of the Federation, the number 6. So a lot of people worked on RoboCop, actually a part of Star Trek, one moment or another. Right.
It's some weird nerdy shit. Just throw them all together. It was the 80s, man.
Yeah. So meanwhile, we get 2 things happening at once. So one of them is actually the bird of prey coming out of Cloak, and Krug is trying to kill the Grissom just to make sure they don't contact anybody, 'cause they need them for some reason. I didn't understand why, but them ended up destroying them, and because they have that whole samurai honor kind of thing that you don't kill for no good reason, I guess that's what they came up with. That's why he killed his own man. That's the whole
I just find it
point.
funny
That's
how the
something
guy
that
just turned
Nimoy
around.
put in.
It's like, it was a lucky shot.
I
What you
thought
gonna do,
he
man?
he killed him because he disobeyed him because he says I wanted hostages.
Prisoners.
Yeah, I wanted them. And so I thought it was always like he killed him because, you don't disobey me, you know.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that
something of
both of them
rather.
fit within the logic. Yeah.
The whole
Well,
point
I
is
think he also wanted them as prisoners too because he wanted more information on Genesis, and if anybody would
That's
have
true.
it, it would be people from the Federation, actually outside of the brand new planet. You think, yeah, if anybody's got information about this whole thing, it would be them.
the thing is the Grissom
And it would
is
all be
not. No, go ahead, Divil.
I was going to say, and you think on the computers of the ship, it would have all the information that he would want because they have to recreate Genesis and stuff. So you think he'd be like, don't destroy the ship. That's literally what the information we need.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not a battle cruiser. It's just it looks like a low class ship, so medical ship, kind of science ship or whatever. So it wouldn't. It would be adverse to destroy it. And of course, on the planet, we get to see the young Spock, and Savick kind of realized that it's him kind of right away. And we also get an interaction.
Doesn't David
between,
too, where he's like, well, yeah, some of the cells, but basically just ended up recreating him because that's all that was left.
Yeah.
Like with what kind of other bits were on that on his coffin then that created the giant worm things?
Yeah, like the little pink vagina thingies. I mean,
yeah, at first, yeah.
Kind of. Cells that were on that survived space. I no idea.
Yeah, that's what didn't make any sense to me. And then also like how they evolved, but they evolved
and then it tried to attack Krug, and like doing the Klingon thing where like, oh, you can't choke me, I'll choke you back. It's very clear. But back then they had to. Everything was kind of that whole thing of I'll choke you because I'm a Klingon and that's what we do. That all came from this movie.
Okay.
All the backstory, everything. This movie that Leonard Nimoy sitting with Harv Bennett kind of came up with that whole idea, and then it got later on developed in later movies and in TV, of course. And we also had the conversation with Savick and David, where she tells David, well, we're in a desert, then a fucking jungle, then immediately the South Pole. So I don't think it worked. And he said, well, yeah,
didn't David have the conversation about the
proto-matter?
Oh, the proto-matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Which he said it's
because then you said like, well, how many people
had?
Well, but didn't she say like, well, and how many people have died because of this? Because of what you did. You're just like your father. What you're doing is you're trying. Well, how many people have died because of your almost hubris,
something that was in Wrath of
been...
Khan. She mentioned something that was in Wrath of Khan without actually saying it. Is the fact that she did to do the Rue test, and David kind of did the same with solving a problem by cheating your way through it rather than just tackling the problem itself. Which
oddly enough,
here
him using the proto-matter is actually a correct line of utilizing what they used in Picard. Sheer fucking hubris.
I hate that line. I hate line.
Here it's apropos.
Here it's apropos. In makes no sense. No sense at all. So Krug's on the planet with two of his henchmen. They catch David. They catch Savick. But as soon as they do, and Krug is trying to get information about Genesis, out comes the Enterprise. Is to Krug's mind a battle cruiser, which it is, and they immediately he goes up to the ship, they cloak, but Spock and not Spock, Kirk and Sulu kind of catch the glimpse of it, but they haven't actually met a cloaked ship yet. Not
Yeah.
anyway. This is the first kind of dealing with a cloaked ship, so they don't know what is going on. And when they decloak, because they kind of caught a glimpse of it, they kind of know what was going on. So they fire the first shot. They hurt the ship. They don't destroy it. And then Krug and they're both kind of in a standoff. And Krug doesn't understand why he's not being fished. So he figures out,
Yeah. What I find
got them
funny
now.
too is Krug's little set aside when his little pet dies, because it shows him petting it earlier,
Yeah.
and then when the Enterprise
Yeah.
fires upon the Klingon ship, the pet dies. He picks it up and he looks very solemn for a Klingon
Yeah.
for about a good half a
Yeah.
second. Then he's like, "No, now I'm gonna get you."
And then he throws it. Yeah, throws it. And then
Man.
he says the captain. They both speak. And he mentioned the fact that there are captures down below. And they get to talk to Savick and David. So Kirk knows it's his son there.
Son.
And
I was gonna say in the interim too, they had just a little bit just to show how rapidly things are progressing. They show the evolution of, as you said, Devil, the pink vagina monsters into the tentacle creatures, and then also Spock going through Ponfar, the Klingon, like basically male Klingon puberty, like how he's
I've
aging
skipped
rapidly.
everything.
So. No, it's just I thought that was a good aside, showing not only the obviously progressive time, how fast it moves there. So at the end of the film, it explains why he looks like Spock at the end when he was just a boy at the beginning. It provides the story in itself kind of wraps it up really succinctly right there.
There were five or six different Spocks that were not Leonard. Like like kind of the children progressing into teen, into sort of a half adult, then Nimoy. But five different actors. So they have that little interaction. Then immediately Krug is like, just kill one. I don't care which one. And they were going to kill Savick. David kind of interferes. He's not a war. He's a scientist. And he's facing a Klingon. He gets killed. And then we have that scene where Shatner falls, not really in his chair, on his chair. And
that's the only mourning that he does, really. Because to be fair, how many kids does Kirk have around the galaxy? I mean,
well, technically,
he's kind of like the Genghis Khan of the universe.
I mean, like, he has boldly gone where no man has gone before, if you know what I mean.
Definitely.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been a funny plot twist to it? That Kirk, like in his grief, has sex with, like, I guess Uhura in the bay where the coffin is. Get some of his material on there, and then like you have little Kirks running around the Genesis planet.
Oh no, that's disgusting.
Million little Kirks.
Damn, that's disgusting. So
I would have preferred that to the vagina monsters, to be honest.
Just a bunch of Kirks.
Little Kirks trying to outact each other.
So Kirk is like, okay, we surrender. Don't kill anybody else, because when Savick says David is dead. Oh, before that, we have another person here, kind of an acquaintance of yours.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of hinted at Spock, where just Kirk,
hey, we got your friend. We have your best friend here. We don't want to exactly tell the enemy that.
Exactly. So Kirk is like, don't kill anybody. No problem. I'll surrender the ship. So what they do is they set off the Enterprise and they just beam down to the planet.
Which
the self-destruct
love
codes.
that little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
That self-destruct codes, the same codes that was in TOS in one of the episodes. The only difference is in the episode where they turned the self-destruct on, it had a 30-second timeout, and they deactivated it close to the end where there was some sort of a capitulation and it didn't go off. Obviously, the Enterprise was never destroyed until this moment. But it's the same exact. However, it was Chekhov that set it off. It was Spock. So it was Kirk, Spock, and Scotty.
Gotcha. But no, I was just saying
You wanted to say
when the Klingons are on the ship, like there's no one here, but there's only the computer talking, and it's 9, 8.
And Krug is like, put it your communicator on. I want to hear what it says. It's like 4. So it's like 5, 4. It's like, get out. It was like, no way.
Where the hell do you think he was gonna? Where are we gonna go, Krug? They're in space. Where they gonna? You can't warp them out.
Yeah. And we have not only the destruction, is the fact that they're looking at it through the atmosphere, and it's the first time that the Enterprise was so it was a monumental thing for the fans, not necessarily. Fucking actors too, kind of, especially Scotty, because he. Well, I don't know if you remember the whole Dyson Sphere episode in TNG where they find Scotty trapped in a porter loop. They bring him out and he discovers, oh well, there's 100, like 80 years have passed, and now he goes up to the Enterprise D, and he misses the old crew and he misses the old ship, so he goes into the holodeck and puts up the TOS version of the bridge, and he gets drunk and he talks to like LaForge, or he talks to somebody. It's like, I love the Enterprise, not A, not B, not B. That's one of the most famous lines that I remember from that episode. He liked that ship, not even Enterprise A, where they had after the voyage home in Final Frontier. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. I'm not a mega Trekkie, but I know stuff.
I'm not a big Trekkie. I'm pulling just lines that I love from this one really obscure episode of The Next Generation that you don't remember clearly. Sure, Meth. Huh? They do have everyone on Genesis, but I do love that how that they're bringing up the fact that basically Spock has the mentality of a boy, and McCoy going, "It seems I've got all his marbles."
Yeah, yeah. Because Sav did mention after kind of finds them, he kind of mentioned that he is or I remember when, but she mentions that the fact that it's him, but it's a Sheva's self. Like an empty husk or something. And of course, after the whole thing, Crew comes down by himself and tries to muscle his way through. And Kirk is like, okay, just get my crew up to your ship and we'll settle this. What he says is like, just give me Genesis, right? He says, I'll give you Genesis, just bring my to your ship, and I'll give you all the secrets. But then the entire planet starts to fall off, and that's Kirk's opportunity to go hand-to-hand combat with a Klingon. He almost loses, and he drops Krug down, gets his communicator, and talks to the guy who brings him up, and we'll leave the rest.
Correctly on the line that he says to Krug as he kicks him off of him into the lava. It's like, does he?
I'd
I believe. I know it's.
enough of
I've had
you.
enough of you. It's like that
Yeah.
is the most pathetic last line that you can say to
Yeah.
someone when you kick
Like,
them.
wouldn't
I've had enough of you.
wouldn't you be like, you killed my son, you know, something like
Yeah, you
that?
son of
Like,
a bitch. Yeah.
Like
yeah,
this is for David, like something
yeah.
like that.
You know, there was one thing you mentioned that that really kind of stood out to me is when he's going through his pon far and
Mm.
she's in front of him. If in I believe it was Voyager, they show a lot of the pon far because it's such a private thing that you don't see it in all the other ones.
They
I think you hear
actually
about it, but you don't
don't.
see it really.
They actually don't. The only Pon farm moment you see in all the movies is that particular moment. And
Yeah.
there was
And
a
in Void,
subplot. There was a subplot of because Savick actually stays in Vulcan when they go back with the on ship back to Earth in the voyage home.
yeah.
She stays back. There's a subplot where she is actually pregnant with Spock's kid, but they kept it. So
Oh, that'd
there
be
was,
good.
yeah, they kind of did that, but yeah, we basically saw Vulcan X, which is very underwhelming. Let's just say that. Underwhelming.
But when you
Um,
see the pon far in this Voyager, they show it as even Vulcans with a lot of control that have had years to, control their emotions and their things suffer
in
like
Void the
immensely
series,
to the point where
yeah. Go ahead.
to the point where they'll like attack like grab at women and stuff if they're suffering through this. Now they said that he essentially is a child on the planet because he's Spock's not in there, his thing. And here she is in front of him. He's suffering with that, and he's just like taking it. I'm sitting there like, wouldn't he try to grab the chick or something? I mean, because he doesn't have the control that they normally have. You think he would try to take advantage of the fact or something if he's suffering through this craziness.
Yes, but it's 84, and I think they were aiming for a G rate. Well, it was different. That was really different in 84, but it was basically G-rated esque movie. So they couldn't. There's no cursing, no nudity, minimal blood. I think very minimal blood, and mostly like cuts and stuff, not like gushing wounds, and like no nudity ever, not even close. The whole finger bit thing to be actual sex, but they're Vulcan, so they're weird. So let's do this.
Well, do you think they evolved it like also like when they did get to Voyager, they're all like, let's dive into more of what would happen because it was like I said, it was real new at that time. So maybe they didn't see it as, oh, he would be able to control himself and his desires.
A lot of it's weird because this particular movie is a lot of start of many ideas in terms of the sort of expanded of Star Trek. It's not only the human part, it's also the Vulcan lore, Pon farr, the mind meld. The mind meld were a thing in the TOS, but not as evolved as it was later. In Enterprise, they evolved it with T'Pol, where the people who did mind meld back in the day in Vulcan were actually criminals, or they were considered as criminals. So part of the people could do it. It was later on a bit changed. In Voyager was a little bit different, where they had Tuvok kind of giving you a little bit of a different view of it. But it all started kind of here, the whole thing, the whole Vulcan, expanded Vulcan lore. That's everything is here and in the voyage home at the start of it.
Well, then Meth or Devil, you could actually just correct me. Is this the only time where they did the Falfor pan then? That they did the remerging? Okay, is this the only
Yes.
time they've ever shown that? Then I was
believe
curious
so.
because
Only time.
again, I'm not really versed in Star Trek, so it's just like I wonder if they've ever done this afterward. But okay.
They never done it again, and the whole point is it is so rare that it would take millennia of years to do it again. That's why they mentioned that it was very dangerous to do to McCoy. It's like I'm ready, but we'll get to that in a minute because we have a few scenes left, and we'll do our second game of the day. It's called Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter is very, very simple. We take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good, both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Friday evening, Saturday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other, two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? Chat participation is most welcome. Devil, there is no right answers. There are only your answers. Valkyrie, 2008, or King Arthur, 2004.
Valkyrie,
Reason?
because I've seen it.
Okay. No problem. Phoenix?
This is kind of a toss-up for me because actually I did like the interpretation of that version of King Arthur because they actually tied in like actual Roman history into the theme of it, which I thought was great. Clive Owen was actually pretty good with it, so Hugh Dancy was really good in it too. I don't like
You don't like
Keira
Valkyrie?
Knightley.
Oh,
I just don't like Keira Knightley as an actress to begin with because it seems like her teeth are too big for her mouth when she talks.
yeah, but it's
Pay attention when she speaks.
correlation with
It's almost as if like she's struggling to talk because
I mean, it's a correlation with her huge tit. With her small tits and huge mouth. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I think you got that backwards, but but I'm gonna have to go with Valkyrie because it's a much better film overall. Yeah.
I'm gonna be overruled. I would from these two, I would prefer to watch King Arthur. Not the best movie in the world. I didn't like the adaptation of that whole moment in history by Tom Cruise. Movie with that era of mine. I don't remember the name of the movie. It's I would say sort of a TV movie rather than a full-blown theater release. Again, don't remember the name. I think I even saw it on Hallmark back when I had Hallmark. But I'll go with you guys. Valkyrie. By the way, chat, you can vote on your specific movie. Gone in Seconds or Tropic Thunder. Devil.
Ooh, this is a hard one. They're both so good for, totally different reasons. I love Tropic Thunder. So funny. So many quotable, things. But Gone in 60 Seconds was such a good movie. Oh, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Feelings. You
already
hate
know what
Gone
I'm
in
gonna pick.
60 Seconds.
I don't hate it. I don't think it's the best film, and also I love Tropic Thunder so much. So
I come around on 60 Seconds. I initially didn't love it at all. When I came around to it. It's a fun romp. Tropic Thunder, however, is fucking hilarious. And the fact that Robert Downey Jr. will never get close to even any role that is close to this is a fucking shame.
and the fact that they hid Tom,
After
they
what
were
I
actually able to
Heard
hide
him
Tom
say
Cruise.
yesterday, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yes, the fact, dude, up to 40% of the audience didn't know it's Tom Cruise until the end credits. 40%. is mind-boggling. Right. Avengers Endgame, Dark City. Devil?
Ooh.
Tough choice.
Ah,
Have you seen
yeah.
Dark City?
A long time ago.
All
And
right.
I remember I liked it, but I can't remember too much about it. So I guess I'll have to go with Avengers Endgame because I do remember plenty about that. So
Okay.
it obviously stuck with me more.
That's fine. That's fine. Like I said, there's no wrong answers here. Feelings.
Well, I think Endgame was a great capstone to that phase of the MCU, and perhaps they should have just stopped there given what they've been making lately.
Yes.
I'm going to have to go Dark City.
I'm going to go with you. Surprise, surprise. Watch Avengers Endgame more. I dislike it. I love I love everything to do with what they did with Iron Man. I think it was a mistake. Had to, because Robert Downey Jr. just did not want to go through another Iron Man movie. I guess that was right. I shed a tear every time I see that heartbreaking scene and his speech to his daughter. Yes, I'm a big softie. However, as a movie, I would rather watch Dark City.
No. Well, I think they did a great service to that version of Captain America as well.
Yes.
Steve Rogers as Captain America. They gave him the good send off that he deserved as a character. So
yeah.
Now what they've done afterward, we don't want to discuss because it's bad.
No. Clue or Rocky 5. Recently watched Rocky 5.
Ooh.
Happy birthday.
It's
Happy
terrible.
birthday.
It's terrible.
It's not
It's
good.
fucking terrible. Clue
Oh yeah. Yeah.
is not a great comedy or a comedy mystery. And Rocky is not a great boxing movie. Take your pick.
Tim Curry's in Clue, so that goes good for it because I do like him. I probably say Clue just because, yeah, it is the weakest Rocky. It's just not good.
Yeah.
So I'll go
Feelings?
Clue.
I agree with that. I think Rocky 5 is actually worse than Rocky Balboa, that's a wow.
Rocky, recently seen Rocky Balboa. Apart from the actual fight itself, it's a really good movie. It's a really good Rocky movie. Rocky Balboa, after, like I said, I watched all of them with my kids. All of them. I don't know why they wanted to watch it, but they kept saying, we want more, we want more. Watched all of them. Rocky Balboa, up to the fight, is a better movie as a movie than even Rocky 4. Because Rocky 4
I agree with that,
is just a series of montages, and it's not good. It's not good.
It really is.
I would go with Clue. It's just it would make me laugh.
Well, I was
Rocky
also gonna go with Clue as well, just because Clue finally won. We've had Clue on this segment how many times over the last 2 years?
Yeah, Clue has not won any fight at all. Right. Up in the Air, George Clooney, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, another 1984 movie.
Oh man. I
want me to
think
start?
I watched.
It's easy.
Well, we already know
go
what you're
ahead.
gonna pick, Matt.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Devin. Make me do it. It's Temple of Doom. It's easy.
I remember some about Up in the Air, but once again, it obviously didn't stick with me too much because I can't remember a lot about it. I know a lot of people like it though, but even though Temple of Doom was the weakest of the first 3 Indiana Joneses, it's still was a good movie. So I'll go with Temple of Doom too.
Feelings? You picked Temple of Doom as well?
Well, I do have to just say one thing. That poster for Up in the Air, the Art Nouveau style, is fucking fantastic.
It's really good. It's sort of a 50s feel to it.
It's a fantastic poster. I love that poster.
You know what I was thinking? You know those early like 50s commercials to like soaps or like
Yeah.
dishwashers. It's the same kind of style, and the subject matter is really close. It's like like a running salesman, right? He
Well,
goes from
because for
port to
this,
port.
if it weren't for the fact that it was a rolling suitcase,
Yeah.
that could have
Yeah.
been a poster for Pan Am in the
Yeah.
early
Yeah,
60s.
that's it. That's exactly it.
But no,
The
it's
thing
Temple
is,
of Doom.
it's not a bad movie. It really is
No,
not a bad movie, and
it's
I
a good
like George
film.
Clooney in it.
Yeah, it's a good
But
film, but
Temple
compared
of Doom just
yeah, I mean, we're
and
comparing apples to oranges here.
and Devil Made Me Do It said it. It's the weakest of the three. I recently watched them just to prepare for Indy 5. So I did, and I did them again live as I was talking to like people who were on the chat. I absolutely love this movie. The whole him interacting with Short Round is just great. It was not edited as tight as the other ones.
Yeah.
The scenes that you wanted to be longer were very short, and the scenes you wanted to like just stop, right? They just went a little bit further than they should have. But
Still,
it is what it is,
Kalima,
right?
Kalima.
That's not one of them. That's not one of them. But okay. Death Wish for the Crackdown. That's the last one with the guy. I don't remember his name. Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson. I'm sorry. I'm bad with names. Fuck you. Last of the four
last
with,
one with the guy.
with the guy
with the hair.
with Charles Bronson with the hair and the mustache, and The Beach with DiCaprio.
Now,
Oh,
Devil,
man.
if you have not seen, don't worry. If you have not seen Death Wish 4, you can put. We can go do a haven't seen it because not a lot of people
We
have
can
seen
do a
Death Wish 4.
Yeah. Got that far into it.
By the way, I would without seeing it, I actually saw it, but if I haven't seen it, I've seen The Beach, and I would pick fucking Death Wish 4. But okay, here we go. Predator 2 or The Beach? I'm not even asking you.
Predator 2 or The Beach.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'll go.
Last one.
Yeah. The Beach is a terrible film. They were
it's a
trying
terrible
to. They were still trying to capitalize upon at the time during pre-production all of the buzz from Titanic, and they were trying to push basically one of the shittiest scripts. I think that has come out in the last 25 years on Leonardo DiCaprio. Going, well, he is on fire right now after Titanic, so we'll throw him in this.
Yeah.
Jarhead easy.
or Birdman. All right, cool.
Really? Jarhead?
Action?
Okay.
Yeah. I just like
Okay.
it was more engaging to me. Like I was into it more than I was Birdman.
Okay.
Oh, that's fair.
Feelings?
Birdman. I fucking love that movie. But I love very off the wall, avant-garde stuff. So that's
I know.
It was just it's saying to me, it's like, yeah, this is some weird wacky shit. You're gonna love it. Although Jarhead is a fantastic film though, so I wouldn't turn down watching
Jarhead
that.
really good, and I love it. And actually love Jake Gyllenhaal in it. He does a great job of he does a great job in it. I know people don't love him as an actor. I really don't have a problem with him. It just depends on what movie he does. Sometimes it's like in Zodiac, I didn't really like him. But in Nightcrawler, I did.
Nightcrawler was fantastic in Nightcrawler.
And Donnie Darko, I loved him. Jarhead, I loved him. I don't know. I recently watched Birdman before I went to see The Flash.
Oh, wow.
It's very jarring to watch The Flash after Birdman and what
A good
Michael
movie and a
Keaton-
bad movie.
Michael Keaton said and did after actually doing Batman and then doing Birdman.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm going to go with Birdman. Cool.
All right.
Yeah. Sometimes what happens. I didn't really think I would reconnect with Birdman, but it's just I don't like Emma Stone in it though. I don't
Really?
like it in. I don't like her in that role. I like her, but I don't like her in that role, and I don't like her in La La Land. I couldn't stand La La Land. It's like 20
I
minutes, and I
couldn't
was
stand La
out.
La Land.
I was out
Well,
after 20 minutes. I
Well, again,
was done. Mrs.
I'm
Meth
not a big
watched.
fan of musicals to begin with.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, me too. It's like I why Mrs. Meth watched it all the way through, and did you like it at the end? She was like, nah, it was okay. It's like, It's like,
Okay, that's okay. That's what I was expecting. I was, if you were to say like, Miss
But
Smith
she
came
didn't like it.
out of there going like, "Oh my god, I love that movie." I'm like, did someone abduct your wife that day? Because that is not what she would say.
No. All right, cool. So all our crew, our favorite crew, is on the ship. There's basically just the one guy there because all the rest of them got killed on the Enterprise. There's just the one dude.
Well, as you mentioned too, with the kind of the semi Bushido-esque code, the Klingon asking
Yes.
to be killed, and they said, "Well, I'll kill you later," and then when he goes, "Yeah, and take the prisoner and put him basically in the brig," he's like,
Yeah.
"I thought you said you'd kill me later." I lied.
I lied. and the whole thing for them is that whole thing literally got stuck into the lore where they're supposed to die in battle.
Yeah.
It wasn't specific in this movie. That whole idea stuck, and they kept going in TNG and later on in the entire universe and in all the novels. That's the whole thing, and it comes from this movie and basically this sentence of, "Oh, you need to kill me," or Klingons don't become prisoners because it's a dishonor.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
in
a
so many
fun
ways too.
line.
So
It's a
like,
fun line for Shatner. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, it's also kind of a twist on multiple warrior cultures. Because well, samurai were like that, but obviously too the one that really sticks out the most is Spartans.
Spartans, yeah.
Either
on your shield or behind it or whatever.
Yeah, either with your shield or on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the interaction of how do we work this? Let's turn. Where's the fucking warp drive? This no, it's this. That was correct because they don't know fucking Klingon. How do they work out?
Yeah,
this
it's
shit?
Sulu having to fly at me like, well, I haven't done this in a long time. It would have been funnier if they would have had just a little bit where they had a slight little crash when he was landing.
A slight little crash.
No, just like they couldn't get the retro rockets to fire on at the same time, so it kind of just skidded in as it landed. Not like them crash landing, but it's like like just dragging along.
And
then they did have that.
Makes me laugh. I like the fact that it's like literally the pilot, tactical, and engineering trying to figure out how to fucking work this thing out.
And I did love the McCoy's side confession too, where he's having that conversation with Spock, and he's actually admitting the fact that he actually did miss him, and that they actually had their own unique relationship.
It's something that is, I've mentioned it before when I was doing my watch parties, is in the trio, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and why it worked really, really well for that crew is the fact that McCoy and Spock have their thing. We're arguing because McCoy is very emotional and Spock is very logical or very methodical, that sort of thing. You had Kirk and McCoy arguing because they're both kind of emotional beings, but McCoy is very like the curmudgeon, and Kirk is very the the debonair, the extrovert, the brave kind of courageous person, and McCoy is like the sort of not shy, but the oh, why are you doing this? The sort of a Karen kind type of guy. So they had the Kirk and McCoy doing their thing. They had the McCoy and Spock their thing. You had the Kirk Spock, of course, that friendship, and you had all three of them together that created sort of chaos of all that going on, and it's super special. And in this case, where you had McCoy kind of talking to Spock, kind of saying, "Well, I've with you, and I think you're a fucking bastard, but I kind of love you, and I miss you." In not in these words, but yeah. So they land in Vulcan, and you had this maternal character kind of seeding the whole thing. She talks to McCoy, is like, this is very dangerous, and he's like, I'm ready for danger. And he's like laying down, like, no, you're not. You're. It's out of character for McCoy to put himself in danger, but we just had that sort of a friendship moment where Spock was basically not dead, but he's out cold.
Well, he's
and
McCoy
also kind of confessing their
for
friendship.
lack of a better term, he is still gone, even though his body's there. What makes him is still actually in McCoy's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an empty shell.
So.
And
they did have
that
just
thing where
before that too. They have Sarek, who actually says, "Well, how doing this is illogical," and Sarek even admitting, "Well, when it comes to my son, I am illogical."
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's again first time we see it in the movie. We see it again in T as well. We see it again. That comes later on, that where when it comes to Spock, Sarek is very illogical, and actually mirrors in. JJ kind of touched upon that in the new version, but he didn't follow through with it, to my mind, and I didn't quite like the whole Calvin timeline thing. So it was almost there. They almost kind of replicated that, but not really.
Yeah.
So everything kind of works out. Spock gets his thing back, and he's with the robes, and they're kind of escorting him outside. And then he turns around, takes off the robe. He looks at Kirk, and it was like, Jim. Name is Jim. It was that kind of, and everybody kind of lights up from that, and that sort of interaction.
Well, he says
ends,
also.
No, it ends.
Well, he also
with,
repeats the line.
He repeats the line when he dies, like, I was and always shall be your friend, and then everybody kind of conjugates to that point. Jim, your name is Jim, was the first thing that Harv Bennett wrote when he started the script, the original one.
Oh, okay.
And he worked backwards from there.
Backward to get it, yeah.
Yes,
That's a good idea.
to get it to there, which was it's a very odd kind of writing process. And of course, Leonard Nimoy was always involved with that sort of creative endeavor. But that line with Jim, that came from Harv Bennett, and that started kind of we need to get to this point. How do we work backwards and get to that place? A very, very interesting thing to do. But we get this.
Well, and also we have that one bit between Sarek and Kirk where he's essentially thanking Kirk.
Yes,
for going through everything, like how much it cost you. It cost you your ship, and God knows what's going to happen when you actually get back to Earth. Like, kind of forget that you basically committed a mutiny, where essentially that's a court martial right there, buddy. But he said, he said, if I hadn't have tried, the cost would have been my soul.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Which sort of like I kind of owe it not only to him, but to myself because of their friendship. That it just solidifies how special their relationship is. And that's what I
Yes,
said. That trio. Go ahead.
No, I say like no. I love the fact that you got on this because when he did the eyebrow raise,
Yeah.
it's like he's back.
Yes,
There he is.
exactly. He had to do that eyebrow. It's really hard to capture that, like that specific moment, because you have to see it go up. And I remember it going up just the one. It actually, the kind of both of them go up because it's really hard.
Just
hard
one's a
to
little
do.
higher than the
One's
other.
a little higher. That's it. And like I said, that trio is so special. Every captain of every version, so Kirk, Jean-Luc Picard, Cisco, all the Janeway, all the captains, each one of them had something special with their crew. Janeway had 7 of 9, that sort of relationship. Cisco had Odo and had the Bajoran girl, can't remember her name again. Kira had that sort of relationship because he was connected to the Bajorans with the whole power thing, that sort of thing, or the ancients or whatever they're called. I'm not a DS9 guy, and Picard had Riker, but
I think Picard. Picard had
Data.
everybody though.
Yeah, he always had something. He had Beverly Crusher. He had wasn't.
Data, LaForge, all of he had multiple interactions with every single member of his crew, which I thought that's why people always like to say that TNG is kind of like the best of the series, because Picard had adventures of the week with every single member of his crew, and every single member of his crew had their even side episodes with each other without Picard at some point in time throughout the series.
And in the original series was very much the trio. And in the movies, it was very much just Kirk and Spock with a little bit of touches of McCoy.
The ancillary
so
characters,
McCoy was more involved here, but he was not more involved in Wrath of Khan. He had moments, but he wasn't really involved. Same goes for the motion picture. He had moments in there, but wasn't centered on that trio. And in here, very much relying on that trio. Later on, not so much. In Voyage Home, it has a bigger role, but everybody has more time to shine in the fourth one because of how it was constructed.
As an aside, can you just tell that their makeup department must have been so pissed off in that shot?
Oh, he didn't have a lot of makeup, no.
No, his ears. You can actually see Leonard Nimoy's actual earlobe underneath.
Yeah.
The Klingon one that they tried. No, sorry, the Vulcan one that they put over it.
By the way, you touched upon makeup again. One of the notes that I didn't put in because it was 3.5 pages, just what I read, and hey, I had more.
Yeah.
Robin Curtis, who played Saavik, every day when she went home, she had to put on an antiseptic cream on her ears because the chemicals that were used to glue the ears was very harmful. So in order for her not to get like a bacterial infection from the actual singeing of her earlobes, that you had to put on that like antiseptic cream.
Oh, what
it's
movie?
fucking crazy.
No, I can't remember what movie that was. I remember that same where the guy who had to wear the contacts where essentially it made him blind for hours at a time.
We talked about this.
And
I don't remember which movie it was.
But yeah, it's the same thing where it's like, couldn't you just not use the most harmful fucking products?
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, and that kind of
suffer for your art.
And that kind of completes the movie for us. Let's do a quick wrap up. Again, 1, 3, and 5 are considered the worst from the bunch. I don't think 3 is that bad. There are certain plot holes and stuff that you can nitpick, and it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. But overall, you're trying to resurrect let's say a creature. It's not a superhero, right? You're trying to resurrect a character that died in a world where you're living by natural laws. So laws of physics, laws of time, and all that stuff. That, like, Star Trek was very non-magical as much as human. And when there was a need for magic, there was always a character that was like a godlike character. Trelane was a Q, a Trelane, an omnipotent kind of character that always had something beyond physics. And you're trying to resurrect a character where you wouldn't normally do. And they tried to give it some sort of a rune, which didn't work. They involved prayer, which is something that every time you have a problem in Star Trek, okay, there's some sort of
Throw it at it.
some sort of proto matter or a dark matter, or in Star Trek 2009, the red matter. It's the same kind of shtick, but it's a Star Trek shtick. So it goes along the way. And otherwise, pretty successful. Like I said, didn't do too much. Wasn't great in the theaters. Great in home video. Like, great gangbusters in home video. Like like most of the first 6 movies did very well in VHS, and later on in DVD.
Yep.
Devil Made Me Do It. Please give us something extra.
Like I said, I agree. It's one of those movies that's almost like a connective tissue between other movies. Like I said before we even started, the first Star Trek I ever seen was the Voyage Home with the whales and stuff. My mom loved that movie, so I saw it about 7 times. So the best thing I can remember about this movie is that it connected so many things for me, because when you watch that one first, there's all these things you have no idea why it's happening. Why are they in a Klingon ship instead of the Enterprise? Why is Spock not remember everything clearly? Why, he's doing that test at the beginning? And also all these things got answered when I finally saw this movie. So I would say that's probably what stands out the most, is that this was answered so many questions from my childhood when I watched that movie. So that's what I thought.
Nice. Feelings. Because you're not a Star Trek guy whatsoever.
I'm not really a big Star Trek guy. Again, to me, it felt as though this was just like a very special episode of Star Trek.
and hour and a half worth.
Yeah, had they had not essentially killed Spock off at the end of Wrath of Khan, like, this movie just wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
There'd be no point in making this, because Genesis in itself, it destroyed itself. It was not, it couldn't categorically like keep up its own momentum. It was progressing too fast, and it eventually did just essentially implode. But that being said, I will say it's an easy watch. It's not something that a lot of, especially the earlier episodes, like the TOS, some of it gets a little bit too nitpicky about some background stuff where you just kind of go, especially if you're not a Star Trek fan. If you're a Star Trek fan, it's completely for someone who is not.
Me and the wife
you kind of
recently rewatched the TOS. So yeah. There are episodes that are very strong, and there are episodes that are like, this is Star Trek? This is not. By the time it's the third season, you understand why it got canceled, because in 60s why it was canceled.
Yeah. Well, also the other thing too is with the Next Generation as well, where they have overarching storylines, but then they have what I like to refer to as like Monster of the Week. Like how Joss Whedon used to create things like with Buffy and Angel. There's overarching narratives, but sometimes they'll randomly have an episode in the middle that is not that has nothing to do with the overarching narrative. It's just like one-off story. TNG had a lot of episodes that were like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yes.
episodes. So with that, I think
There's
this is kind
a
of one
massive
of
reason
sorry.
to it, but we won't get into it right now.
Yeah. But there's like one of these is like where you could see them having a one-off like little episodes in between this, like them coming back on the Enterprise, heading back to Earth, them having a misadventure or whatever on the way back to Earth as one of those, and then this is like again the very special episode where they have that overarching narrative continuing the plot line moving forward. And see, Devil Made Me Do It is I have not seen Star Trek 4 in forever. I forgot that there is that connective tissue where this goes right into 4.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's good. There isn't the overarching narrative continues along the
The
plot.
Search for Spock is the third of the movies, but it's actually number 2 in a sort of a trilogy that is Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and The Voyage Home, where it's literally starts off at Wrath of Khan. It's the same kind of connective tissue timeline until The Voyage Home, and then The Final Frontier, which is the 5th one, has nothing to do with any of them.
Okay.
All of them kind of like, oh, we went with the Enterprise, we came back, the Enterprise is completely shot because of the Wrath of Khan. We take the immunity, we go back, it explodes, we come back home with the HMS Bounty or the Klingon ship, which actually sinks at the end of The Voyage Home into the to the San Francisco Bay.
And I
Well,
think
thanks,
they split
spoiler
it in.
alert.
Next week, ladies and gentlemen, because I said next week, go watch Star Trek The Voyage Home and come back to us. And special guest is Tom from Midnight's Edge and Clobby from Clobbering Time. I think Clobby's going to join us. I'm not sure. You haven't met Clobby, but he's a good dude. Anyway, next week, homework. Go watch The Voyage Home. Go subscribe to Beelzehub and get yourself some rankings, because that's what Devil Made Me Do It does. Also follow him on Twitter, because the man is a meme machine, because that thing is fucking hilarious. By the way, thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, email. I'm not going to put it up, but email the show. Like, share, subscribe, share mostly. Subscribe, let it go. And come join us next week. Until then, boys and girls, good night.
Nice.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.